Welcome to the DH Beat, where Hilary and Sonja will give monthly tips to help you thrive in both your personal and professional lives.
To do a deeper dive into these concepts, check out our membership and consulting pages at thedheffect.com.
We've really been talking so much this month, Sonja, about inspiring our decided heart, right? How do we fill up and celebrate and honor who we are so we can show up for others and for our work that way?
For sure. It's interesting in terms of when we use the word celebrations with individuals and companies, there's a little bit of that pushback. There's celebrating. And I would just love to share the example that just happened recently with a company. One of the employees, she's wanting to get a certification completed, and it's going to take a year and a half. And part of the offerings that we do is we help employees grow, right? And so we will walk along and design an educational path. And our first question is always, and how are we going to include the celebrations? Because you have family, you have work, you do your workouts. And more common than not, we hear the response, oh, celebrations. No, I'm going to wait until the very end after a year and a half until I'll celebrate. And we hear that a lot, right?
We do. And it's so interesting because people look at the celebration as this frill, as this luxury, as this extra, and sometimes even withhold validation and celebration and motivation and all of these things and worthiness from themselves until a certain goal is reached. But actually what happens, there's two different pieces of science at work here around celebration. One is having to do with habit. What is rewarded gets repeated, right? And so if we are trying to get a consistent habit to get us to an end goal, but we're not giving ourselves a reward until we get to that goal, it is very likely along the way that we will stop doing it because we can't set up that consistent habit. And there is so much science behind that habit loop. So it really is motivational and will make you do things faster if you set up these benchmarks along the way with the reward. And on an even larger scale, from a science of happiness, the serotonin is that belonging leadership hormone that helps to give you a happiness boost, and it's released when we're rewarded, celebrated, when our peers admire what we've done, and we can be like, oh no, I don't need that, but actually biologically you do, which is so important. People will say at businesses when we talk to them, Sonja, like, it's not my job, it's their job to be happy. Yes, half of the job of happiness comes from personal accountability. So we are going to talk about that in a second too, because that self-reflection is so important. But the other half comes from belonging and from being able to actually acknowledge and lift others and reward them for a job well done.
For sure. I just want everyone to imagine holding your breath for as long as you possibly can. It's not great, right? At the very end, you feel that burnout. You feel like you have no energy. And when you release and finally take the inhale, it's not the same as when you first started, right? And so that's that fatigue that you were talking about in terms of the endurance of something. The celebrations are actually the breathing, the inhaling and exhaling. And every time we inhale, there's a renewal, a rejuvenation.
Yes.
And then the quality of what we're doing stays at that high level. So like we talk about breathing all the time, right?
Yeah.
Whether it's like yoga, meditation, or just take a breath. Why? That is what celebrations mean, you all. It is like oxygen.
That's so true. And we found that, we now have been working, we pivoted from being in our podcast to doing this on a corporate level. And we made that transition fairly quickly. And because of it, we had so much to do. And we were always doing. We were being human doings, not human beings. And we got to this spot where we were like, my gosh, where's the joy? Where's the part where we started doing this together? And so we really feel like there's 3 tips that we have found for our own business, and we use now with all of our corporate clients and all of our individuals that we work with as well. And those 3 tips are really, and we're going to talk about each one, but calendaring it, put it on the calendar. If you don't put it on the calendar, it's not going to happen. Sonja, well, we'll talk about it in a minute. Number two is make it meaningful. Make the ceremony, the actual moment of celebration, have some meat and value to it. And the third one is just really personalize the reward so it's fun and it's playful and it recognizes who you are together. It's not a reward for somebody over there that doesn't look or act anything like you. And I'd love it, Sonja, if you can kind of take our listeners through how we do that for the DHE.
Well, I first want to just acknowledge that, our partnership together, it's a practice. Okay, so that's the thing. It is a practice. It's like, I'm such a producer myself, so I really lean in and I understand that I won't be happy until the goals are done. But again, like the practice of breathing and ceremony and celebration is something that I lean to you on. And I just want to acknowledge right now that I'm celebrating us for the work that we do and that we hold each other accountable to saying, wait a minute, we are working so hard. We need to calendar celebrations. And what will that look like? So there is an agreement that you and I have engaged in. What will it look like? Okay, it's going to be monthly. Awesome. Well, how are we going to be accountable to that? We're going to put it in our calendar as if we would do a meeting, which we hold as priority. Right. So we agree to the meeting times. It's monthly. Well, what would that ceremony look like? Right? Well, we're not going to just say, yay, we did it, toast. We're going to ask each other, how was it meaningful to you? What were the triumphs for you? What did you learn? Like, why, what is the feeling and the steps to get there? So we really sink in. Each of us have our individual moments, and we get to reflect and actually have a deeper connection to, dang it, Hilary, we got here, right? And I just love, I'll have to say, I'm going to bring the personalization to you because we did choose a way of celebrating, which is,
well, we have to have wine and cheese when we do it because that like brings us both joy, maybe me a little bit more.
I'm joyful with that.
And so we always have a couple hours where we just sit and we allow ourselves to just be Sonja and Hilary, but we talk about these things and we toast and we cheers, and Katya comes in as part of it often. And we really just marvel at what has been, because I think this is so important. And I bet there's going to be a lot of achievers out there that identify with us. We tend to always notice what we don't do, but not what we do. Like someone will say, what did you do? And how were you successful last week? And we're like, but then we say, what did you do wrong last week? And it's like, right? And we're so hard on ourselves. But what happens is that is a way of draining us of the energy that we need to move into the next thing. It's like we're emptying our gas tank, right? And so it really is meaningful and important. And for anybody who's out there like, I don't really need that, I'm telling you, you probably need it. When you're running on empty, this would be why, right? So it helps us. We do ours at the end of the month because it's how we fill up and get ready to be able to pour into others for the next month.
And I just have to call out too, because you have this great example, but that personalizing it, what would make you joyful in that celebration may not be what the other person thinks of joy. So right before this recording, Hilary said, oh my gosh, Sonja, if I said to you, oh, when we celebrate, we're going to do a 5-mile run, I would literally dread the celebration.
You'd be like, why do you hate me?
It's not my happy place. And so, and I'm thinking about companies and departments when they think about these rituals of celebrations, to really personalize it to, well, who are my people and what do they enjoy? Can you just elaborate on that an example that you shared before?
Oh, no, I think that that's so important. We get companies that will prescribe and they'll be like, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to just give so-and-so money, or I'm going to give so-and-so nuts, or I'm going to give so-and-so like whatever. Well, they're allergic to nuts, right? Like know your people enough to say, and by the way, we recommend doing this. This is something that we do as part of a welcoming process. People call it onboarding. We like to call it welcoming instead. When you're welcoming people into your company, do a little bit of an interview as the manager. what do you like to use for celebrations? What are your rewards? What motivates you? And now it's like, oh, I'm going to send so-and-so a Starbucks card. I'm not going to send them money because the money is like, well, you don't even know who I am, do you? Or maybe the money is like, yes, send me more, but everyone is different. So ask, be curious.
So we want to leave you there just a moment to reflect. And, there's two paths that with the DH effect that we really consider. First is that self-accountability. This is not a message where all the employees or individuals go to their families or go to their workplace and say, you know what, you need to trigger my serotonin. What's my reward? No, there is that accountability to self. How am I welcoming and receiving celebrations? Do I need help with that? Why am I having barriers to celebrate for these wins, whether they're big or small? Our membership takes care of that. So hop on over to our membership so you can start to do some of the chiseling and embracing your full self and honoring, dang it, I do deserve more celebrations.
Yes.
The other side is too that organizational responsibility, whether you're a company, a department, a team, an organization, there is that responsibility of, yes, how can we build up this serotonin within our employees? Because when we do that, we are going to have higher quality of work. We're going to have the production times, by deadline. We're going to have that revenue come in.
Retention. We're going to have them stay because they feel like they belong.
Sure. Yeah, because they belong, right? And thank you, serotonin, for doing that. So if you feel like I would love to explore, if you're a company leader and you want to explore some of those things, you just hop on over and do a discovery call with us. And so we can really understand who you are in terms of your company culture. What is it that you're striving to in terms of inspiration? And then we can probably help with some strategies on building up celebrations in your company or organization. So I'll leave with some contact information. It's really easy. It's just our website. It's the dheffect.com. You're going to have all of our information there, including our 20-minute discovery call calendar link.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for joining us. And don't forget to think about how are you going to celebrate yourself and the people around you today.
Thanks for taking a beat with us.
Feel free to connect with us at thedheffect.com and schedule your complimentary discovery call to help you and your business thrive.
To ensure that you don't miss one amazing episode on the DH Effect and capture meaningful conversations with those living with a decided heart, why don't you go over and click that subscribe button on our YouTube channel? And for those audio listeners out there who love podcasts, why don't you pick your favorite podcast platforms like this one on Spotify? Go ahead and find that follow button, click on it, and never miss an episode.